going on, man? Another week, another podcast.
Another week of dreams.
Yeah, it's exciting. How's your week been?
My week's actually been pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
I've been driving around looking at places to possibly move Chester's to.
Yeah, dealing with the real estate. Man, that stuff is tricky. We were just talking about that earlier. It's like you said, 1 year it's this price, the next year it's 100,000 more, then it's 150,000 less the next year. I can't keep up with it.
It's really crazy, honestly, you know, and I see so much empty space, and I was like, how do these people hold this empty space so long?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know either. There's some kind of like debt management game that those guys do that's above my pay grade, I think, but they're wild. Owning all that real estate.
Everything should be okay now since we got the king of debt as president, so
right.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll work it out for us. Well, it's been kind of an exciting week here at the office. We got the new employee started. Dylan, who you might see on the podcast once in a while, she's doing social media and marketing for us. Hopefully that'll step up our game. We'll get some more followers and more people interested in listening to what you and I have to drone on about.
Sea of voices.
Yeah.
We'll rise above. Dylan's going to pull us above the fray, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm Scott Hess, tax and business consultant.
I'm John Barton, small business owner. Remember the tortoise and the hare? Slow and steady wins the race.
We started Turtlesmith to help people start small businesses, providing information and resources to small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Build a solid foundation and forge your dreams.
Well, I guess into our first topic, first segment, we're talking about mental health, which is the seventh step, I believe, in phase 3. Kind of coming to the end of the phases here, and want to talk a little bit about mental health of business owners. I know when I started my first company and I started first venturing out on my own, I was just a horrid ball of anxiety and worries and catastrophizing and overthinking stuff. Did you kind of have the same thing when you first started out on your own?
Yeah, because I first of all, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, that's number one. So I just made a ton of mistakes, and then of course had to agonize over that. You know, you spend all your money on something that you can't use, and now you have no money left, and you don't know where to borrow it from or anything. I mean, you know, a lot of business owners, they just jump right in with no plan.
Yeah.
And then when the money runs out, they don't know where to go to get money. They don't know how to ask for money, you know, and they really come across as beggars. And so that wears on you.
Yeah, having a plan has been the number one kind of drowning of my anxiety. If I have a plan and I know what I'm doing and I'm focused on a goal, I seem not to have as much anxiety about doing stuff.
You know, I agree with you. And I think that a big part of that is not only having a plan, but having someone that understands things. Like I've said this a million times on here, you know, being around you where you explain the numbers really relieves a lot of anxiety. It also opens up possibilities.
Right.
You know, and that's something that can't be overstated, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I've said this also before, Stephen Covey says, you know, hire for your weaknesses. And I think a lot of business owners, small business owners, new business owners, they don't think about it like that. They just think of their own strengths, and they have a I can do it all mentality.
Right.
Bookkeeping, how hard can it be? And the thing is that there's a lot of advertising and a lot of marketing out there that makes you feel that way as well, like QuickBooks and things like that. So
they definitely make it seem
QuickBooks
simple.
might be a great program, but it's fairly complicated, you know, and it's fairly easy to screw it up.
It's very easy to screw it up. I spend a lot of my time fixing clients' mistakes.
You know, but I am really, truly guilty of thinking that I could do all that, right? Thinking, how hard could it be, right? It's just receipts. Just put it in. And the thing is that you may be able to do that to some degree, but it's going to take away from focusing on the things that you are actually good at. So why not just hire somebody who knows what to do and make that part of your plan?
Yeah, it should definitely be part of your plan to hire people that can handle the minutia or the things that you're not good at. You know, hiring for your weaknesses, exactly like you said. And it's a good point, too. Having a good accountant or somebody who really understands the numbers does open up a lot more opportunities. We're talking about doing a bunch more things that maybe a few years ago you were in a pretty similar position, but didn't know if you could do it or not do it, depending on your finances. But now that you know, we have new opportunities. It's exciting.
Right. And the thing of it is that the things that we're talking about doing, for example, they would have not only been financially daunting, even if I had the money to do it, but I just didn't know the structure.
Mm-hmm.
But they also come with the ability to hire more people and create positions and things like that, and in order to do that, we need to think about managers and people to take care of that. But because part of what we're doing is centrally locating a lot of the resources, because a lot of the things that each owner of each of those businesses would have to contest with themselves, we don't have to contest with because we have it central.
Right.
Or centrified. I don't know how to
Right.
say that, but centralized.
No. Yeah, centralized. You're right. And that planning and that thoughtfulness in putting together a plan of attack for all these different deals is what helps with your stress levels and your anxiety and your mental health. So the end goal of this step is to kind of put together a self-care plan and a mental health plan to make sure that you're staying focused on your job, staying focused on what you're good at, and trying to get rid of all the other minutia and just focus on your business. So a couple key steps in this venture of having good mental health. You have to do the 3 things that you're supposed to do. You have to drink water, eat healthy. I'm not good at that. I like my Swadleys down the street, but I do notice when I eat healthy, I feel better.
I do want to say something though. Is like there are, and you guys can look this up, but there are studies that show that you can be bigger, you can carry extra weight and be healthier actually internally than a skinny person.
Oh yeah.
So I would look that up if I were you, because
I'm going to look up to it and just grab onto it with everything I've got, man.
Well, yeah, but it's actually it's actually
my
true
new plan.
though. There are people who are like that. I was on a professional diving team.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys have ever gone to an amusement park and seen high divers doing their thing and doing comedy diving and stuff, I did that.
Yeah.
I was part of that.
That's wild to me.
But one of the coolest stories that I heard, because I never saw this happen, but the owner of the company, their son, was apparently like around 300 pounds or so. Now, we used to do a dive. I was one of the divers that did it, and there weren't a lot of us that would do this, right, because it's kind of dangerous, and I'm stupid. So this dive was called a spotter, where you would actually go out to the end of the board. You would walk and approach it like you're going to do a regular dive, jump on the end of the board, and you do a backflip, and you land back on the board, and then you do something forward, like a forward 2.5 or twist or something, right, some kind of trick. But the way that these things were set up is you had a pool that was like an 18-foot circle, and the diving boards were right on the edge of that circle. So if you land on that board the wrong way and you go the wrong way, then you're going, it's 9 feet to the water, and then it's another 9 feet to the ground, right? So you're already more than 18 feet in the air above all that, heading towards the ground.
Yeah.
So they would have people standing on the edge to push you back if you slipped off and went the wrong way, if they would catch you, because you could go over their head,
mm-hmm.
right? So one of the craziest stories I ever heard was this guy. Remember his name? His name was Dean. Never met him, but he was the son of the owner of the Great American High Diving Team.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the people that would do a spotter, 300 pounds. Would go out to the edge of the board, jump, do a backflip, land on the board, do whatever forward. I mean, I assumed that he was probably trick diving and all that since he was a child with that outfit. The owner of the company, when I got into it, she was already like 180.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman. She wrote me the most beautiful letter one time, But the point that I'm making is that being healthy, being happy and healthy with your size, can be achieved, right? It doesn't have to be something that weighs on you and to feel like I'm just being totally unhealthy. You know what I mean?
That's
So
a
I
fair
would look
point.
into that and see.
It's a fair
because
point. I don't think I'm terribly unhealthy, but I could do better.
you might actually be healthier internally than you think you are.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, besides eating healthy and drinking lots of water to stay hydrated, sleeping is also more important. I know when I first started my company, I was working like 18, 19-hour days. I did not sleep. And I felt like I actually got less work done when I was working longer hours than if I just worked harder for a more concentrated portion of time and then relaxed.
It's a proven fact that fatigue diminishes your brain capacity considerably. I mean, you can go look that up on YouTube. You can see how people perform tasks. They test them, at one point, and then they deprive them of sleep, and they test them on the same task again. It's dramatic,
Right.
So people rarely make good decisions when they're sleep deprived.
Right. Which is why it's important to take regular breaks, make sure you get your sleep in, and not just slog through to try to do it, because it's going to affect your mental health. And what it's going to affect most is your period of burnout. Every business owner that I've ever worked with, including myself and probably you at some point, have burnt out, just been tired, wanted to throw away the business, couldn't do it anymore. We're just sick of it.
That's like an every other day thing with me.
Yeah. Well, and that's burnout.
You got my text.
Yeah. Well, that's just burnout. I've been going through a period of it here the last couple months, which I'm looking forward to the little break we have coming up. I've just been after it every day, every weekend, these last few years, really trying to get my business going. So I have a pretty good self-care plan. I try to get out and play golf a few times a week, try to just get some me time, and only be at the office, a certain time period, try to go home. And if I'm not getting enough work done, I just need to hire more people to help me with it rather than burn out.
It is true. You have to set boundaries, There was a time when I would take every phone call. I would take on every question. I would never say no, Now I let the phone ring. I let the people at the office take it. Sometimes I'll pick up the phone and I'll apologize to the person I'm talking to. I'll say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick up the phone. I think it's better if, you call back and I'll let it ring through to the office and let them handle it.
Yeah.
Because you can get overwhelmed, with that stuff. Every time you make a promise to someone to do something, they expect you to keep it because they're depending on you. They extracted that promise from you, and it just adds to what you have to do.
Yeah, adds to the ever-growing to-do list.
Either you are in a position to get it done and willing to get it done, or you need to learn to say no, and you need to learn to delegate it. And you need to have people that you feel good enough about that they can competently handle it, so that when you delegate it, you don't have to worry about it and you don't have to follow up on it.
Yeah. And that's a key aspect to the next kind of portion of this step is building out your support network. So when you're first starting out, you're probably going to be solo. You're probably not going to have a lot of people in your corner, but you need to have a good plan to build out that support network. Make sure you've got people locked in to hire or you have a plan for when you can bring people on. And if you're just starting out, you need to have some people to talk to. So, find other business owners, find people who are willing to lend an ear to just vent a little bit so you have a good support.
So I find that if I go to, if I join kind of forums, leatherworking forums, for example, or marketing forums, some business owner type places, then that's a good place to vent.
Yeah.
So if you're a consumer and you ever want to know how we really feel about you, go join some of those forums, because we definitely air it out, the things that frustrate us.
Yep. Yeah, I do on Reddit. Sometimes I'll look at stuff and people are always complaining about customers or clients. And there's one that I love reading whenever I'm having a bad day, the Clients from Hell, where people tell their little stories about horrible client experiences. Whenever I have a bad one, I look there and I feel like, all right, what I went through wasn't so bad. So a little bit of positive reinforcement.
Oh, they can get bad. We had one today, right? A dealer sent in an order, right? So the dealers want to make money from us. They want a discount. They want to take orders. Fine. But we have a process, right? We send them pictures and confirmations and everything many times throughout the process. And then these guys will just send back a message that says, okay, looks great, right?
Yeah.
Don't even show it to the client, right? So now there's a middleman between us and the client.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, you can make money, no problem. We encourage that. But the job that comes with that is communicating with your own client, right? So we built the case exactly like it was designed, everything. Apparently there was a change at some point and we didn't catch it. But the point is, the reason for our steps is in case something like that happens, right? Either the dealer or the client should be thinking about what they ordered and what they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing. We are dealing with over 200 simultaneously. So when they shoot back with okay, we're just like, okay, move on, continue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we built the case, and it's got the customer's name in a spot where the customer didn't want it. And the dealer is now calling us back going, oh, well, the client is threatening to go to a lawyer over this, right? Over a $300 case. Threatening to go to a lawyer. I says, I'm going to have to pay for another case. And I said, yes, that's exactly what you're going to have to do because you're the one that screwed it up, not us.
I love how people are always threatening to go to lawyers. I feel like the people who threaten that they're going to sue you have never actually sued anybody because it's very difficult. It's very difficult, time-consuming, and expensive.
It is. You got to go start. And then lawyers are like, okay, I'm going to need $500 to just start talking to you.
I mean, that's cheap. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
or some lawyers will say, well, I'll send a letter for $500 or something. We'll threaten to sue.
Yeah.
On a lawyer letterhead. But that stuff, talking about mental health, right? That kind of stuff used to send me into just orbit, right? Like I'd be like, oh God, my reputation's going to be ruined, and how am I going to deal with this? And if I tell this guy no, if I don't just eat it, then people are going to be all over me. Now I'm like, you know what? Take it to the internet. I'll be happy to have this as a public discussion.
Yeah.
If you'd like. And then everyone can see what our process is. Everyone will understand that you fucked it up. And that's fine with me. So, but before, I would go nuts and I'd be like days just upset about that. Like, how could this happen? And thinking about, oh, we need to change the process and make it even more idiot-proof.
Yeah.
And
that's not a very good way to...
No, it wasn't.
Not a healthy way.
It wasn't. And now the healthier way is, bro, everything's laid out. You didn't do your job.
Yeah.
Suck it up.
I've had multiple clients call me when they get their first bad review and they're, well, what do I do? Everybody's going to see this. They're all going to hate it. And I'm like, well, you got 30 good ones. So
yeah,
just relax, Well, we can't not talk about therapy with mental health step. I highly recommend that most people should be in therapy, particularly most business owners, not because they have a real problem, but just because it's nice to have a third, a party that has no interest in your business or anything to talk to, somebody to vent to, somebody that you pay for an hour of their time to just bitch at if you really want to. And I found that that's been very helpful. So I've used the BetterHelp app, I've used in-person therapy, and it's made me a better business owner, made me a better manager, and probably made me more money in the long run by just having somebody to kind of vent to once a week and take out my frustrations and help me kind of walk through, some of my negative thought processes and stuff like that.
That's good to hear. I've been a little bit too cheap to do that.
Yeah.
But I do think that we have a stigma in this country about it as well, where people feel weak if they have to go to a therapist. I saw something the other day, or I listened to it on the news, that a majority of psychologists in America do not take insurance.
Yeah.
Because they just don't want to deal with the hassle of dealing with insurance companies. Mm-hmm. And they would like to, but they don't want to. So that means that a lot of people, even if they do have insurance that might cover it, they often can't get it because the psychologist doesn't take it, and then they'd have to pay out of pocket.
Yeah. Listen, it's not cheap. The in-person stuff somewhere around $100 to $150 an hour. The BetterHelp one, sometimes you can get good deals. I think I was doing $230 a month, and you get a session every week, which translates to about $50-$60 a session.
What if you just took $20 down to the park and found a homeless guy to talk to?
I mean, maybe.
If all you want to do is rant.
It's not a bad
rant
idea.
to a stranger.
Yeah, there you go.
But whatever it is, the point of it is that whether it's actual real therapy, whether it's online, venting, whether it's literally going and finding a homeless guy that will listen to you, when you donate $20 to him.
Maybe that's our business model. We need to help the homeless.
Yeah, we were talking about that before, right? Rent event.
Yeah, there you go.
But whatever it is, it's getting stuff off your chest, in a way that is not destructive is what's important.
Right.
Because,
right.
And I will say this, and I hope everybody out there watching me listens to me. We're going to have a topic coming up that, is talking about what happens when business owners, make certain types of mistakes. But this is one that I have personally made that I have regretted. Now, I've talked in the past about firing customers, right? And I still do kind of enjoy firing customers.
Yeah, maybe a little too much sometimes. But
possibly a little too much.
I'm on your team on that
It's
one.
possibly a little too much hubris there. But there is a certain amount of good feeling when a customer truly is out of line.
Yeah.
And you just tell them, look, bud, I don't want your business, right?
Yeah, it's a great feeling when you get to do it once in a while.
But there have been other times, right, when I've vented to my customers in general, right, about just general practices, like things like how, I've never said it exactly like this, but I'm sure it's come across like how could you all be so stupid? All the information you need is right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there have been times when I've written that out and actually posted it and then erased it immediately. And I would suggest to everyone that if you want to write that stuff out, get a Google Doc or something and write it all out. Don't resist the urge to post it.
Yeah.
Because there will be a portion of your customers who will be like understanding, and they'll know where you're coming from and where the frustration is coming from. There will be another portion of your customers that will just feel offended, like you're talking about them, even if they have never interacted with you. Just because they're the kind of people that anytime anything negative appears, they feel like you're talking about them. They have to be defensive.
Yeah.
And so resist the urge to do that. I'm not the only one that does it because I've seen other people do it.
It's a very common way for people to take out frustrations.
And it's a very bad way to use the internet,
Yeah.
Yeah.
An unhealthy habit that I did was drinking too much. So when I first started my business, I drank hard. I was a big partier. So I would work hard. I would work 80-hour weeks from Monday to Friday. And then I thought, all right, I did all that. Now I get to go out and have a good time. And, just bad, destructive behavior, drinking too much. And so.
Oh, you waited until you were off work? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually somewhat responsible.
To do that?
I don't know. I've known some guys who drank on the job, but I always made sure to drink, after work. But, it just those kind of, if you don't have good, healthy outlets and a good, healthy self-care plan, those kind of destructive behaviors will come in and they ruin things. So, I'd get hammered on Friday and then I'd be hungover till Monday. And then, the whole weekend's gone. So, having better self-care, better health plan, better mental health plan is really the key to this step. And we'll have a lot more information and links to some good resources and good articles on Turtlesmith website. I'm not an expert on mental health, so I'm just telling you kind of my thoughts on it. But in this step, really take some time to think about, what your life is going to look like as a business owner, because it's very hard. It's a lot of work, and you will burn yourself out and turn to bad behaviors and destructive behaviors, or you'll kind of just turn into an asshole. A lot of business owners are assholes because they're just so stressed and burnt out.
Oh, I think I started out as one.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but that, and all of that is true. You want to enjoy the fruit of your labor, and you don't want to find yourself at some point where you've spent 10 years just being completely frustrated and anxious all the time and nervous, waiting for hammers to drop all around you and putting out fires. I think if there's something that I would say, it is when I look back on all the things that have happened and all the things that I've gone through, none of it was ever so serious that it warranted, just ripping my heart out, myself.
At the time, though, it seemed like it.
It did.
Right?
It did.
Yeah.
It does feel like it because you put so much into what you're doing, right?
Yep.
Most people who get into business do it, at least the first time, they do it because they're passionate about something.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that they think that they can do that the world wants. And if only they can just get their shingle up, then the world will beat a path to their door.
Right.
And when that doesn't happen, they start to doubt themselves.
Mm-hmm. A lot of self-doubt will creep in during this whole
absolutely.
process.
And we all want to get in business and focus on our passion and not have to worry about the taxes and worry about the bookkeeping and worry about the plumbing and fixing the roof and all this other shit, But that's all part of it. When you decide to become a business owner, you also decide to wear all those hats, unless you plan for it and you budget for it and you start out that way.
Right.
But you're still going to wear a lot of the hats because the fact of it is that there are people who start businesses and there are people who work for businesses, and some people really enjoy just getting a paycheck at the end of the week. Doesn't make them bad people, but they are very rarely going to go overboard and assume all of the duties that need to be done.
You say they're not bad people. They're probably the smart ones of the group.
In a way,
really
they are. And I've
doing.
had people tell me that straight up. They're like, look, I enjoy drawing my paycheck at the end of the week. I have my benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about it. I get my job done, and I make sure that there's nothing that people can bitch about me about.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. I mean, what more can you expect? Right there. But it's the business owners that do expect more.
Yeah.
They expect you to act like they expect their employees to act like they own the business without the employee being able to get the benefit of the business.
Yeah, which is why we talked about realistic expectations in our employment.
And that in and of itself is a source of frustration if you're thinking about it that way. You can get to a point where you're actually resentful of your employees. When they're actually doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Not that we're resentful of you all, Chandler and Calvin.
But I mean, we, it is funny because we talk about the stuff, or at least I do, and we have employees here sitting with us, helping us do this podcast. Which, by the way, this thing would never exist without these guys.
Oh yeah, without their hard work, we'd be just talking to.
Yeah, I told Calvin yesterday how naive it was of me. I
literally
said this to you
with some iPhones and stuff.
Yeah, I literally said it to you before, and I said, how hard can it be? We're just going to put a phone up at the end of the table and record it and then put it up on YouTube. Right? And honestly, there are people who it appears like they do that. Yeah, and I say appears like they do that, right? And maybe there's a lot more going on in behind the scenes than we know about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm positive that there are people who literally just put up a phone and do it. But I imagine that is more along the lines of those people who catch a lucky break in business, with whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be more successful than they thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably people who started out that way and found that if they want to continue being successful, they need to have a crew around them.
Yeah.
And maybe they maintain that single camera vibe, but actually behind the scenes, they probably got 3 or 4 or 5 people helping them.
Yeah, probably true.
So while it might have been possible for us to do that, on a probable sense, I don't know that it would have had a chance to be very successful. But what I do know is that we wouldn't have the knowledge base that we have with these guys. We wouldn't have the I don't know how to say the word camaraderie. Is that how?
Camaraderie?
Camaraderie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hate it when I mispronounce something. Camaraderie. So we wouldn't have that. There's been a lot of back and forth. There's been a lot of knowledge that's been passed to us about the business itself. Things that we probably wouldn't have thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And just the whole vibe is nicer.
Yeah. Yeah. Much more relaxed vibe.
And I can guarantee you this, if it would be on me, we put up a single camera and we're supposed to upload it, I'm pretty damn sure I'd miss a lot of uploads.
Yeah.
If it was on me.
Yeah. Well, my last thing that I want to say about the mental health step is that starting a business, going through this process of going through all the steps, and then actually opening a business, for most people, this is going to be the hardest thing that they've ever done. It's going to be opening a business, starting your own little deal and working for yourself is harder than most people think. It's going to be a lot harder. It's going to be the hardest thing that most people have ever done in their lives. And then there's a lot of times where you're going to get kicked in the teeth. You're going to get knocked back. You're going to be, something bad's going to happen. You're going to forget something. You're going to be short on money. You're going to screw up a client's taxes, which I've done before. Not often, but before. And they're going to be mad at you, and everything's going to seem like it's crumbling. But it's kind of just the old adage, for every one step back, you got to take two forward. So just if you keep moving forward and you keep executing the plan that you've developed, and you make sure to go through all of these steps and have good mental health care, like in this one, you're going to be fine in the end, probably. Most likely.
I mean, this is what I was saying a moment ago, is there's rarely anything that happens in business that is going to be life-threatening to you or threatening to your family.
Well, I don't think it's ever going to be life-threatening, but it can ruin your business,
sure,
or it can seem like it.
The real worst thing that could happen is outside of criminal stuff. If you're a criminal, well, you might go to jail.
Yeah.
But if you're just in business and you're trying to do your thing and something happens, let's say it's a new regulation comes down and it makes it impossible for you to do your business and you lose everything. Right?
Yeah. Okay,
you're financially gone at that point, but you're still alive. You can rebuild. There's stories of people who have rebuilt. There's people.
Tons.
There's stories of people who this stuff happened to, and they never came out of depression. They killed themselves or something like that. But there's a lot more stories out there of people who lost it all and came back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing to remember, is that whatever you did in business, if that really happens and you lose it all, you know what you don't lose? You don't lose all the lessons that you should have learned while you were doing your business.
100%. And that's why we harp so much on the failures that you and I have gone through. I don't know any business guys that I work with today who were successful from day one and just were continuously successful. Everybody failed at something. Everybody had a business that they lost money on or went under or did, anybody who's trying to build something failed at one point.
Here, you want to,
and business owners are going to, we tell stories all the time.
Yeah, you want to talk about a clear example that's happening right now with me is 3 years ago I bought a pool room on a whim. Mm-hmm. Like I literally woke up on a Tuesday and on Thursday I owned a pool room. Yeah. And I literally took out pretty much all the money that we had in the bank at the time, all the cash, to hand a check over to someone for $180,000. Mm-hmm. And now I'm facing, a situation where in 2 months the lease is going to be up. It's not going to be renewed. And I said this to you last week. I said, I don't want to lose $200,000, or whatever. And you very calmly said, well, you're not going to lose $200,000, and here's why. Yeah. You've got all these assets. You've made, you've actually made profits. Mm-hmm. And, at the end of the day, if the worst case scenario happened and you lost the room, you couldn't get another room, and you had to sell off all the equipment, you'd be down about $30,000 or so. Yep. Right? Mm-hmm. And that makes it much more livable. Yeah. It makes it's naturally I don't want to lose that, but that's a lot more palatable, especially considering the fact that we've got a lot of other things going on that are going to make us that we'll make up that money easily.
I hope so, yeah.
And guess what? Here's another little thing that you guys might not know out there. People raise money all the time from people they don't know by having a really good pitch. Mm-hmm. Having a really good idea and knowing how to pitch it and getting other people excited. Yep. So there are people who do, for whatever reason, and I'm going to say no fault of their own, but there's probably people that lose things through their own fault, who rise up again because they are able to come up with an idea and pitch it correctly to people with money. Yep. Yeah. And that's a world that, for example, I wouldn't be able to tap into if I didn't know you. Yeah. Or I didn't study it. Even if I did study it, I still wouldn't know those people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know a few of them. But
you do. You know a few of them, and then the few of them that they know more people. When it's a good idea, Even if you pitch it to someone and maybe they don't want to be fully on board, maybe they know someone else and they'd like a little piece of it.
That's why we talk about in the funding step. If you have a good idea, there are people out there who can get the money.
And that's what people want. There are people with money who want to make more money.
And they want to invest in good ideas.
They want to invest. They want people to come to them with ideas because they got money.
Yeah.
They themselves don't have the time to go chase down every idea.
Yep.
But they're sure as hell willing to invest in it and pick up their little piece every year.
Absolutely. Well, that's sort of it for the mental health step. Do you have any other thoughts?
I would say that if you're going to use drugs as part of your mental health therapy, then
proceed with caution.
Be legal, because that is one thing right there where if you overdo it, that can bring you down and bring your business down pretty quickly.
Yeah. I'd be careful with the drugs, but there is something to be said for microdosing and creativity.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that they're
be adults.
I read an article.
Proceed with caution.
Yeah, I read an article in Reason magazine one time that postulated that a significant number of the most important discoveries in the world throughout history were fueled by people who were on mind-expanding drugs.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, obviously, how true or not true that is. I can't cite, how that was studied or arrived at. But I will say this, right, that there are times, right, when the right mixture puts you in the right frame of mind, to be free of anxiety, be free of depression, and be able to get your work done. So I'm not advocating the use of any drugs, legal or illegal. I'm just saying that that's something that you can explore, on your own and be responsible with it if that's something that you find that works for you. But the real overriding point that I want to make is self-care is super important, and don't let it turn into self-abuse.
Great point. I think it's a great point to end it on. This is always annoying to ask, but if you're liking this content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way for us to get more followers and more people engaged in this great business content. You can also follow us on all socials at TurtlesmithOK and find us at turtlesmith.com.
Please like and subscribe.